It started with 16. At the end of this process, it will be 8. At the end of this European night, 2 of those quarterfinalists will be confirmed. The story of the 2022-2023 UEFA Champions League continues, and we welcome you to our coverage here on your Home of Champions. My name is Donald Oliver, and it's an absolute pleasure to have you here with us. Let's just remind you, first of all, of what happened in the first legs. Only one of the 8 matches ended in a draw, and that was between RB Leipzig and Manchester City. It finished 1-1. There were 1-0 results for AC Milan over Tottenham Hotspur, Bayern Munich over Paris Saint-Germain, Borussia Dortmund over Chelsea, and Inter Milan over FC Porto. Benfica and Napoli registered big 2-0 away wins over Club Brugge and Eintracht Frankfurt. And the most memorable for many, Liverpool lost at Anfield to Real Madrid by 5-2. And I believe that totals 7, to add to the anxiety of many Manchester United fans. So now we turn our attention to the first 2 matches of the return leg in the round of 16. And Karim Adeyemi's solo dribble from his own half was the decider in the first leg in Germany as Dortmund got by Chelsea, and Benfica, they take a 2-0 lead to Lisbon and will feel confident with their fans behind them against Club Brugge. It's now time to welcome the All-Star panel now, and in studio with me, Eric Radamakers. He's a technical director at the Kingston Football Academy and an assistant coach at the local Premier League club Arnett Gardens. And also joining us is Juan Arango. He's our South American football correspondent, or chief football correspondent there. And Eric, let's start off with you. Based on what happened in the first leg, do you have any inkling as to who may advance and maybe which teams would be considered the favorites at this point in time?
Out of the 2 matches today, we look at Benfica, of course, as the big favorite. Club Brugge, I mean, they're playing at home. We said a 2-0 big away match, but even if you look at the form between the 2 teams, that is Benfica as a big favorite. But I think when we look at the Chelsea-Dortmund, which is other way around, Dortmund won 1-0 at their home. So they're now going away to Chelsea. Chelsea getting a result over the weekend, so they somewhat could say they're getting back some kind of form. So that's going to be an exciting match to watch.
Yeah. Any other things that you're looking forward to in terms of what you saw in the first leg?
I mean, a lot. I think Chelsea has been a hot topic in general. So even after the first leg, they had their matches, they had their switches going on. I think it's really exciting to see Reece James back in the lineup again and see him on the field. So looking forward to that. But on Dortmund's side, they keep on winning. They had a great victory over Red Bull over the weekend, and with players like Jude Bellingham in form, and we saw Julian Brandt last week putting on a show. Should be an exciting match.
All right. Juan Arango, talk to me in terms of the overall picture of what you saw in the first legs. I'm talking about all 8 matches here. Who do you consider to be the favorites heading into the second legs now?
Well, going into these matches today, I'm talking about, you'd have to look at Chelsea maybe getting a little bit of an advantage, especially knowing that Alexander Meyer is going to be in goal. You have to keep that in mind because there'll be no Gregor Kobel in goal for Borussia Dortmund, and that ends up leading to some sort of uncertainty in the back. Now, how much, I don't know. Looking at Benfica and with Club Brugge, you end up seeing 2 teams that they obviously do want to finish things off. They want to get the win. They want to be able to advance, but being very careful, especially in Benfica's case, because Benfica knows that it can end up being a very Pyrrhic victory because you have Otamendi, João Mario, as well as Gonçalo Ramos amongst the players that are in yellow card caution coming into this match. Same thing for Club Brugge, who have Simon Mignolet, who have Tejan Buchanan, amongst others, 4 in total, that end up, if they get a yellow card, missing out in the first leg of the quarterfinals. So it ends up being quite interesting, but right now, the home teams might, in the case of Chelsea, a little bit of an advantage, but Benfica look like they have a very, very impressive handle over this tie right now.
Thanks, Juan. Okay, it's time now to get deep into the agenda. Stamford Bridge comes alive as Chelsea takes on Borussia Dortmund. Chelsea also lost to both Southampton and Spurs. The question is, can they turn it around in this Champions League second leg? Eric, talk to me about your thoughts on this one.
I mean, on this match or Chelsea at this current form?
Yeah, the Chelsea on their current form and what's in front of them.
I mean, I like to I mean, Potter is a big part of everything that's happening, and I think all the Chelsea fans, including inside Chelsea rooms, they want him to take charge and make sure that he really is in charge of everything that's happening. So when I look back at his Brighton days where he was in charge, it also took him a little while to get a group of new players to really playing and scoring a lot of goals to really get him the results. Now I think a difference is at Chelsea now he has players that have more of a star and status as a player. And I think a big question now is, can Potter actually manage these players in a bigger group while they're not performing? Because it's easy to manage bigger players when they're not playing or not on the squad when you're winning. But in this current stage, it's very difficult as a manager who doesn't have much experience like him working with big stars to get the team in that happy, positive mood to really get the group to gel, to get these results and get the goals. So that is something that he has to now take charge of. How much confidence do they have in him? I don't think he goes into the club feeling, you know, I'm fully secured in my spot. So that is something that he now really has to prove as a manager. Can I handle this situation or not?
Well, just a reminder, let's take a look at what happened in that first leg as Chelsea went down to Borussia Dortmund.
Looks like the planet is unfolding to watch this one as Borussia Dortmund take on Chelsea. Boy, some work's gone into that. Big game, this one. Here we go then for the first time. Adiemi, no yellow shots up there at all. Adiemi is breaking. It's a great run from Brand. Adiemi might not need it. He's going all the way. Fabulous goal. Borussia Dortmund take the lead with a brilliant individual goal from Karim Adiemi. Absolutely priceless goal. Loftus-Cheek with the ball, and here's Koulibaly. Straight at Kirkland off the line. Heroics on the line. Emre Can was there. It's finished in Dortmund. Borussia Dortmund 1, Chelsea 0.
Juan, they were impressive in that first leg, weren't they, Borussia Dortmund?
Yes, they were. I mean, you saw them pressure from the onset. That's really what really spurred them on to victory, despite it taking a while for them to be able to defend or to be able to penetrate Chelsea's defenses, I should say. It'll be interesting to see if they continue that. They're going to have to continue that first and foremost because they want to be able to finish this tie off over at an environment that's much significantly quieter than the Westfalenstadion, to be quite honest with you. And if Chelsea starts to see that certain things aren't working out, do the doubts start crawling in again? Do those uncertainties start to emerge once again? And especially with such a quiet fan base like Chelsea, you end up seeing that doesn't spur them on as much. Although with this team, you do see some players that are slowly turning it around, and they do have an opportunity based on those players being able to really start to revert their form.
Well, I do believe that we do have a bite from Graham Potter, who believes that his team can actually turn it around at home.
Yeah. Yeah, they could.
Believe it or not, the mood has been positive throughout. It's not happy and joking and smiling when you're losing, of course not. But at the same time, there's been a support for each other and a good spirit and a good atmosphere. At the same time, you have to take responsibilities and know that we're not in a good place from a results perspective. But as I said earlier, if you win a game, the smiles come back. You're not quite singing on the way into training, like Andy would maybe suggest we do. But everybody's happy. We're looking forward to the game. It's a fantastic opportunity for us. It's a great game to be involved in. Like I said, to trying to get into the last 8. It's half time. We're 1-0 down. We need to respond, and I think this group of players can do that.
The thing about it is that Chelsea, they have scored just 4 goals in their last 10 matches, and I'm just wondering if you've been able to spot anything as to why they have been struggling to convert their chances.
I mean, if you start pointing at one thing, I think that ends up being a very weak narrative, because when when teams struggle that way, it's a combination of a lot of things. It's not just one thing that you can just say, oh, this is the reason why. That's easy for Graham Potter to be able to correct if it's only one thing, but it's a combination of a lot of things that lead one into another, or end up being byproducts. Injuries being one of them, lack of continuity being another, players that have come in and haven't been able to adapt as easily, some that have been able to adapt but have been asked to do a lot of things. And there has been a sense of confusion at times, and it's not me saying it. It's been track record that many have said it throughout, that there have been some misinterpretations in terms of the overall philosophy of Graham Potter, that some are maybe quickly acquiring as every passing match comes in. Although, keep in mind, these processes don't have a set timeline that they have to start working. They start working when everything starts clicking, and we don't know how long we don't know how long it's going to take, if he's going to have that time to be able to make it turn around also. Let's keep that in mind.
Eric, have you been able to truly identify the type of game that Graham Potter wants to play? Of course, everybody looks back at his time at Brighton, and he would utilize younger players, but now that he has the stars at his disposal, what has been the issue?
I mean, I don't think he necessarily wants to play with younger players. I think he wants to play with energetic players that are very lively during the game, and I mean, I think he has those type of players. So I think it's really, I mean, as we said before, it's how much time do you need or do you get for your style to really come out consistently in the matches, and not just for the style to come out, but to attach it to goals and wins. I mean, I think it's a part of the club and the club's decision on how long do we give somebody. We look at Arsenal, and Arteta had years to really get to the stage where he is right now. If we look at the history of Chelsea, usually they don't get that much time to really prove it. So I think it's crucial for him that he gets somewhat of a hold of players on the team that feel like, yeah, we have confidence from the coach, we get the trust, and we can get results. And then it might be easier to deal with a bigger squad with all these stars.
Yeah, they've obviously lost a massive leader, and you need these characters in the dressing room, right, to get the togetherness going, but they've lost one in Thiago Silva. How big is that miss?
Oh, that's huge. I mean, you just said it. I mean, how important he is. In terms of what he offers, in terms of experience, in terms of character, in terms of production as well. Let's not kid ourselves. I mean, he's still a very productive central defender at 37, almost 38 years of age. So let's keep that in mind. But you need that player, that player that can amalgamate, that can consolidate this side, that has a lot of young players with potential, that has a lot of players in the middle of their career that maybe aren't that leadership type of player. So when you're missing on such a cohesive part of a lineup, yeah, it does take a long time to come in. But at the same time, these are professionals, and they have to say, hey, one comes up, the next one's right up to bat. So you have to start looking at it from a collective standpoint as well, although there are individual pieces that are more important.
It's interesting. The first ever meeting between the teams was settled by a solo strike by young Adeyemi, and of course since that he has been suffering with a hamstring injury, and he's actually not in the starting lineup today. Eric, it's a big miss for them.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great individual class with the speed, but even the composure and the finishing that we're going to see right here from halfway his own half in that 1v1 battle, really choosing the right time to accelerate. But I mean, I think it's Marco Reus that is taking his spot, and I think even at this level, Reus might be somebody who's been there and have done that and have had great performances at a high level. So I think it's a good replacement that they have for him, even though they will miss certain moments and quality as we see right here.
It's interesting, Juan, that Dortmund, they know how to produce these type of players. This one, a big one in Bellingham. They get the youngsters, they nurture them, and he's now a natural leader. I mean, what's happening over there while they're able to produce these characters?
It always comes down from the youth levels on up. It's not something that they're in the first team and all of a sudden they acquire these qualities. Something that Jude Bellingham's been able to do. I mean, you look at the bench, you look at players in the recent past of Dortmund that have moved on, and you see quite an impressive list of players and how they've been able to perform and how they've been able to evolve at Dortmund, and at times most of them have been able to adapt very quickly to several leagues. You know, whether it's La Liga, whether it's the or even Bayern Munich, or the Premier League. Let's be honest, it's been something that they've been able to do quite well, and bringing in some players that have been maybe finding their opportunities squandered somewhere else, such as Nicolas Süle, such as you also see Sebastian Haller, who ends up coming back. He'll be the starter tonight as the number 9 for Dortmund. So you see those types of players that come in and immediately begin to contribute as well, in addition to those youngsters that understand how Dortmund runs things.
It's not going to be easy for Dortmund, of course. They have lost, on 6 of their last 7 trips to England. So definitely this may be an issue for them going to Stamford Bridge, Eric.
Yeah, I mean, numbers do mean something. So you look at certain things and, if you really go into it, you might see a trend where, the type of football maybe that the English clubs play, the matches that they have had. But I think a lot more important is look at the current situation. And I think when we look at the current situation, it's going to be 11v11, and the home advantage that home teams in England might have had, I'm not sure how much Chelsea will have that today, especially when Dortmund pressures them from the start, might even get the early goal. The situation that Chelsea is in, I still have to see how the fans and even the players will react to a difficult start of the game. If, of course, the English fans get behind their team and the team plays good, it is a very difficult country to get your wins.
And predictions, Eric, what are you thinking, how this one will go?
Boy, exciting match, looking forward to it. I think that Dortmund will advance after a draw.
Are you thinking 0-0 draw?
No, I think in 1-1.
1?
Yeah, I'm thinking along the same lines. I truly am. Chelsea have a chance, but are they up to it? What happens in the first 10 minutes, 15 minutes? And if Dortmund even score first, then it's pretty much lights out. 1-1, 2-2, something along those lines.
Yeah, I'm going with 0-0 as well. I think it's going to be a draw at Stamford Bridge. Interesting. Let's see how it pans out. We take a break. When we return, we take a look at our featured game today. That's Benfica against Club Brugge.